You ever get the feeling psychology has, well, a bit of a split personality? I mean, one minute we're talking about brain scans and neurotransmitters, and the next, it's all about culture and social groups. It can be kind of confusing, right? Well, you're not wrong. Psychology really does live in two worlds at the same time, and today we're going to figure out exactly how it pulls that off. So let's dive right in.
So this is the big question, right? Is psychology a natural science, kind of like biology or chemistry, where it's all about the physical stuff? Or is it a social science, more like sociology, where the focus is on how we all interact? The answer, and this is the cool part, is a big, fascinating yes. To both.
Okay, first up, let's put on our imaginary lab coats and look at psychology through that natural science lens. I really want you to think of this as the microscope view. We are zooming way in, looking at all the tiny, intricate biological details that, make us tick.
So what exactly is this side all about? Well, it's the part of psychology that basically sees the human mind as a direct product of our biology. It's all about digging into the hardware, the brain, the nervous system, our genes, to really get a handle on the physical mechanics behind every single one of our thoughts and actions.
All right, you can see the difference laid out pretty clearly here. Let's just focus on that first column for a second, the natural science approach. It is laser-focused on our internal biology. It's the side that asks questions like, hey, which parts of the brain actually light up when we feel happy? Or how much do our genes really influence our personality? It is all about the nuts and bolts, literally, the stuff inside of us.
And how do we even study that? Well, through a really rigorous scientific method. This approach loves controlled experiments and hard numbers. We are talking statistical analysis, measuring brain waves, all that good stuff. The goal is to find clear cause and effect relationships. It's all about getting that objective, measurable data.
And you see this lens in action in some really fascinating fields. Think about neuropsychology, which studies how something like a brain injury can affect our abilities, or biological psychology, which explores how hormones and neurotransmitters totally mess with our mood. These fields are, without a doubt, in the natural science camp. They are using that microscope to see every last detail.
All right, deep breath. Time to put down that microscope. We're going to switch to a completely different tool now, the wide-angle lens. Instead of zooming in, now we're zooming way out to see the bigger picture, the world around the individual. This is where we get into psychology as a social science.
Now, with this lens, the focus totally shifts. We're moving away from our internal hardware and looking at our external software. This is all about studying how our environment, our culture, and our relationships with other people actually shape who we are, how we think, and what we do. It's one word, context. It's all about context.
Let's go back to that comparison slide for a sec. This time, have a look at the social science column. See, this perspective argues that you just can't understand a person in a vacuum. It's impossible. You have to understand their family, their culture, their social circles. This side asks the big questions, like how does our upbringing affect our relationships as adults? Or why on earth do people behave so differently in a group than when they're alone?
And you probably guessed it, the methods here are different too. Instead of just crunching numbers, social scientists often use what's called qualitative data. We're talking interviews, observations, deep dive case studies. They're not always hunting for a simple cause and effect. Nope, they're trying to understand really complex relationships and interpret the meaning behind why we do what we do in social settings.
You really see this wide-angle view in action in fields like social psychology, which looks at huge topics like prejudice and group dynamics. Or how about cultural psychology? That one explores how our cultural backgrounds can fundamentally change our entire perception of the world. It's all about understanding that people are part of a much larger social fabric.
Okay, so we've got the microscope view, looking inward, and we've got the wide-angle view, looking outward. They seem like complete opposites, don't they? But what if they're not competing at all? What if they're actually partners, working together to create one single complete picture?
And this is the crucial point of this whole explainer. Modern psychology has figured out that its real power isn't in choosing one lens or the other. It's in using both. It's not about nature versus nurture anymore. It's about understanding how nature and nurture are constantly working together. I mean, this quote from the source material really says it all, doesn't it? Psychology is this amazing interdisciplinary field. It just sits at a crossroads, grabbing the most powerful tools from both the natural and the social sciences, all to get the most complete picture of the human experience possible. It's a true hybrid science.
And we can see this happening in practice. Let's take developmental psychology, for instance. It studies how kids grow up, right? Well, think about it. You can't possibly do that without looking at brain development, that's our microscope, and the kid's family, their school, their friends, and that's our wide-angle lens. You absolutely 100% need both to get the full story. So, why have we spent all this time talking about these two different lenses? Well, because understanding this duality, this split personality, that is the absolute key to understanding what psychology is all about. It's about building the most complete, holistic picture of a person that we possibly can.
So you can really think of it like this. A psychologist might start with the microscope to understand your brain chemistry, your genetics. Then they'll switch over to the wide-angle lens to look at your social world, your cultural background. And it's only when they combine the insights from both, that's when they can start to get a full picture of who you really are.
And here it is. Here's the big takeaway from all this. That split personality we talked about at the beginning, it's not a weakness. It's psychology's single greatest strength. It's what allows the field to tackle incredibly complex human problems from every single angle you can imagine, from a tiny single neuron all the way up to an entire society.
So, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. If you really want to understand someone else, or hey, even yourself, which lens should you use first? Do you start with the microscope and look inward at all the biological stuff? Or do you start with the wide angle and look outward at the world? The real answer, of course, is that the most important first step is just realizing you're going to need both.